Open Tobias Harris, and Tobias drills it! Sixers up one!
Embiid fakes, Embiid down the lane!
What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the Pick Swap Podcast. My name is Sean Barnard, as always, here with my guy, James Birrane. Had a little bit of a break for you guys. Got lost in the madness of March going on. Was tied up with a ton of stuff for the tournament, but excited to get back on the sticks and break down the Sixers team that looks dead set on just being unwatchable basketball team right now. But before we dive fully into it, James, how are we feeling today?
I'm doing well, man. We're here almost through March. Been a lot of great hoops recently.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much on the Sixers side, but a lot of the other basketball that's going on has been great. So been enjoying it a lot. We're closing in on that start of the playoffs, man. So I'm ready to go.
Yeah, and I want to wrap up here with a final NCAA tournament prediction. So keep that on the brain when we get there. But let's dive into the Sixers as a whole. There are now 10 games left in the NBA season, at least from the Sixers. Each team having a little bit different, but pretty wild. We're at that point in the season already. So for the current situation, the Sixers are 39-33. They're 18 games back of the 1 seed. They're a game and a half back of the Pacers for that 6 seed. And obviously, Joel Embiid still unclear when he'll be returning the floor. So, James, with that, with how they're set up, where these standings sit, what is your reaction to that?
It feels like the season has taken forever. The last 2 months of Joel being out has felt like torture. They're testing us, and we're still sitting through it as we naturally do. But I don't know, man. The last couple of weeks have been terrible, but you kind of just watch it with the feeling of none of this really matters until Joel is back. They're gonna be in the playoffs. There's like one way or another, no matter the fashion that they're in the playoffs, they will be in it. So there is, to some degree, a chance. So I don't love what I've seen. Obviously, I don't love the way that this team has played, but they have a lot of pieces. And at the end of the day, like, what really matters is what this team looks like when Joel's back on the floor. And to be completely honest, I think that this is the most complete team top to bottom. I think we've said this before that the Sixers have had. But it feels like, when they're healthy, obviously that's been the question mark. When they are healthy, this team is damn good in a lot of ways. Yeah. So while it is like bleak and dark at times here, and it's been kind of ugly for a lot of different reasons recently, I have a lot of hope. I have a lot of light at the end of the tunnel here. And I think once we get some more concrete evidence of Joel's return, I think I'll start to feel pretty good going into the playoffs. I'd like to avoid the Celtics. We'll obviously talk about that later down the line. But, if they can get into that 6 or 7 spot, I honestly feel pretty good.
Yeah, I'm mostly with you. And I think what's different about this year's roster is each of these players is so made to play next to Joel Embiid. That was clearly the goal. I think Daryl Morey's taken more heat about that than he deserves. That's why you optimize the rosters. You find guys that complement your best player. But when your best player is missing, then the wheels fall off a little bit and it doesn't look as clean. And I mean that with guys like Nico Batum, guys like Kyle Lowry, guys like Buddy Hield. These are all guys that I think their game is going to be so much better when you're playing next to Joel versus how it is right now. But I want to dig in on the Joel Embiid topic specifically to kick things off. So we don't really know anything that they're kind of at the point of this recording. We are 7 weeks post-surgery. We know that he is in his ramp-up process, that he's begun his return to basketball activities, that he's been on the court just about every day. To what extent, we don't fully know. And again, they've kept everything very close to the vest throughout this entire process. What's your outlook on Embiid's return? Do you have any feel for when you think it might be? Are you concerned with the lack of transparency, or is this just how the Sixers do business?
I was going to say, it's kind of what they do. It's just, I have never expected really much transparency from them or direct in nature at all. The Sixers have avoided that basically the entire time I've been a fan of them. So not surprising there. Obviously, I'd like to have a bit of a better idea of when to expect him back. I mean, they have what you said, about 10 games left. I don't know what the time is. So we got a couple of games to finish out here. They're back at home starting tomorrow. And then they have another game at home on Tuesday. So I was thinking, the second would be, that'd be a full 8 weeks from the surgery, and then they
Exactly
go
8
back on
weeks.
the road. They go back on the road for a short, like 2 or 3 game road trip, and then they come back for 3 games at home to finish the season. So I feel like he's the type of guy to want to come back at home. They could use him as soon as possible because, like I said, you probably want to avoid that 8 seed. But
Yeah.
take his time at this point. You're kind of are where you are, and it really is going to happen whenever it does. I think it's going to be a day-to-day thing where Joel comes back and is like, I'm sure he wants to play as soon as he can, but they have to be cautious and smart about this. But I think I've seen a lot of people like online saying they'll just like ice him out and close out the season. I think that's really lame and honestly very soft from people. Is like, dude, he recovered. He had the surgery. He's here. He's ready to go. Like, this team is a real fighting chance, I think, against basically anybody in the conference. So whether you have to play them in round 1 or round 3, doesn't really matter. So I think that, hopefully it's as soon as you can. And if you can play 4 or 5 games before the end of the season and help dig them out of this little hole that they've been in, it could be really helpful. So I would imagine, I guess my prediction would be like either the second against Oklahoma City, or after that little road trip to come back against Detroit, which would be the following. I don't know what the date is, but maybe the 12th or something like that.
Yeah, the point you touched on there, I want to jump on, is that I have seen a ton of that buzz, that chatter of what's the point of bringing him back? Why is that? That's so beyond lame. I think it's dumb. Like, I think the outlook is you have a limited amount of playoff runs with Joel Embiid. That in his career, there is a finite number of these that we're going to get. This is an opportunity to do just that. And while this is not perfect, while obviously this roster has not looked good, the bottom line is we haven't seen a healthy Joel Embiid playoff run yet. And we have a chance to see that. That's really been the biggest hurdle for him playing his best, even if people want to kind of write their narratives as they seem fit. That's been the issue, that there's been broken faces and torn ligaments and thumbs and torn meniscuses and everything else that he's dealt with that has prevented him from playing at his peak. The best case scenario is he's looking like that. Now, granted, we could see a freak injury in round 1, and all of a sudden we're complaining, why is he back, and all those things. But when you're having one of the best players in the planet, the reigning MVP of the league, and a team that is at least competent around him, I'm not saying rush to your favorite sports book and throw everything on these Sixers to win a championship now. Respect. And I was going to follow up with in fact, I'd probably say don't do that, but I respect that you did. And yeah, well, stranger things have happened, man. And I will also note, like, the Miami Heat came out of the play-in tournament last year, that this is something that it happens in the NBA, that this is something like it's not off the table. And to kind of put a bow on the exact schedule, you kind of mentioned it here, did want to pull this up. So you can see tomorrow night back home against the Clippers, the return of James Harden to Philadelphia, then back on the road against the Cavs, the Raptors, then back home against the Thunder, which is that April 2nd date, which would be exactly 8 weeks from the initial surgery, then down against the Miami Heat, which is going to be a big game in terms of standings. Yeah, that's going to be one that if Joel can play in, they could absolutely use him for, because that's pretty much a must-win from a standing standpoint. Then a very favorable end to their season. At Memphis against the Grizzlies, in San Antonio against the Spurs, against the Detroit Pistons, against the Orlando Magic, who are playing well, and then against the Brooklyn Nets. So a pretty favorable end to the season there. That is something that I can see working out. That final 5 games, you can go on a 5-0 run, maybe push yourself up the standings. We'll see what everything has there. But I do see a pathway in which they can at least stay afloat more than I think a lot of people are giving credit, even though it's not ideal right now. And to kind of, you have anything on that before I shift gears?
I want to just put it in perspective, like the situation that they're currently in is like, you need, like, it's been a couple of years since Tyrese, like, Maxey has been ready.
Yeah.
He's fucking ready.
Yeah.
The way that he's played over like this stretch, obviously without Joel, he's ready, dude. He has found a way to score against every single team, obviously. And now the teams are throwing 3 guys at him. Like last night, you look at, he had 21 in the first quarter. They were blitzing him, doubling him, like getting the ball out of his hands as soon as they possibly can. And they're talking about a 22, 23-year-old guard. Like, he has grown into the scorer that needs to be there next to Joel. Harden was not that. Obviously, Simmons was not that. Tobias has never been that. Like, Maxey's ready, right? Wing depth. You have all of that. Something that they haven't had before. Obviously, there's a lot to be desired in certain places, but you have guys that cover the bases in a lot of different ways. Oubre has been playing great.
Awesome.
We can talk about him later down the line. I'm sure he's been fantastic. I really have enjoyed the Kelly Oubre experience. You have the vets, Kyle Lowry, even like Cameron Payne on nights like that when he was coming out. Obviously, Paul Reed has proven himself to be a good backup enough to take up those minutes. Like, you go for this. This is like you like you said, you only have so many of these. You go for this every chance that you get. Honestly, man, like if I'm being completely honest, it's gonna sound maybe crazy. Like outside of the Celtics, I don't see a team that's honest to God on paper better than the Sixers. Like I don't think the
Wow.
Bucks are. I don't think the Bucks are better. I don't think the Cavs are better. Do you think the
Definitely not.
Cavs are better? Do you think the
I think
Magic are better?
Cavs are straight frauds. I've been pounding that table all year.
Yeah. So I feel like you look at this and you see like, you know what, we have the pieces here. Hopefully, you know, you can get a couple of wins to move yourself up the standings. Like if they got the 6 or 7 seed, I feel confident in those matchups. And I don't know, man. I just feel like Joel was the best player in the league by like a large margin this year. If he can be healthy, and it's all about the defense in the playoffs, which we've talked about. If he can come in and at least be that rim protector that he normally is and being able to anchor the defense, and then also just uses gravity to help Tyrese and Buddy Hield and all these other guys, I feel good about their chances. I do. Maybe and like it.
I
Maybe
love
I'm
it.
insane. You know, like it's we've probably gone back at the last 3 seasons and look at me at this time of the year and say this is their best chance. I've probably said that before, but I feel that way this year. I don't know.
I like it, James. Get me fired up. Why not? And let's take a look at the matchups here. So, as I mentioned with the standings, Sixers currently in the 8th seed with their 39-33 record. You mentioned the Celtics are the only team that scare you. Celtics still running away.
I'm not
They're
scared.
not scared. I like
Not
that.
scared.
10.5 game lead for that first seed. So, if you have to rank these teams, Celtics obviously being the worst. So, we'll exclude them for this list. The Bucks, Celtics, or Bucks, Cavs, and Knicks. Let's say that's the first round matchup because those are that I see likely. That's a chance that if you slip into that 6 seed, you are playing that 3 seed there. I think it's probably more likely that they stick in the play-in, and then you're facing either the Bucks or Cavs. So out of those top 3, the Bucks, Cavs, and Knicks, who do you want to play and not want to play?
Yeah, I think I mean the Cavs first. I think that they're the like you said, the least likely to win a championship out of those teams. It'd probably go like if I had to rank them like Cavs, Knicks, Bucks in that
Really?
order.
Knicks
like
scare me more than the Bucks. I'll say that.
again, I think it really just depends. Obviously, the Knicks have like some juice to them. It feels like Madison Square Garden just has the juice at that point. Jalen Brunson has proven that he can play in the playoffs. OG Anunoby is a great player. He's been
When he's
injured.
there.
And
Yeah.
when he's there, he's been really not there at all. I think Julius Randle is not good. It really, again, it comes down to the matchups with Joel. Like they got nothing. They got nothing. Like at least the Bucks, like Brook Lopez is a good defender. Giannis can take over, covering Joel, or at least trying to at times. Like there's at least guys on that squad that are going to be able to play post defense against Joel. There's nobody on the Knicks that is guarding Joel. And they're going to throw Tibbs is a terrorist, just the way Nick Nurse is. Like he's going to throw all these different things at Joel. But like, I think the way I'm looking at it, the Bucks have the pedigree in terms of like they've won a championship in recent years. They also have Doc Rivers, who is as big of a handicap as you could possibly have. So I don't know, man. I like, to be honest with you, I'm cool with any of those matchups. I want that. And I think having a good like hard-nosed series to start would be the perfect thing to get them going after a pretty sleepy last 2 months.
This is my take here is I feel like the fate of the universe is going to align and have the Sixers play the Bucks. That whether they're in the play-in, whether they sneak to that 6 seed, it just feels like it's destined to happen. The Doc Rivers storyline, the Pat Bev trade, all the ties that are coming in here, the driving views to the Pat Bev podcast, all this stuff, it feels like it's just made for it to happen. And the Sixers team has not had this real big playoff clash against this Bucks team. For whatever reason, it just hasn't aligned that way. And Giannis and Embiid have been among the best in the league throughout the past 6 years, whatever it's been, that they've been in kind of this MVP mix. I would say this has been the era of Embiid, Jokic, and Giannis. And it's been weird that we haven't really seen this head-to-head matchup. By the way, if that is the case, you absolutely got to put Embiid on Giannis. And I know we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but that is a matchup that is a matchup that I want to see. But let's shift into getting there a little bit first. So one of the biggest reasons why I think these Sixers have been straight up intolerable to watch lately is Tobias Harris, man. I hate to pound on him. He's been taking his beatings plenty, but it's impossible not to acknowledge that. I'm not even like, you just got to give me the baseline. This has been by far the worst basketball I've ever seen him play, ever in a Sixers uniform. And it's coming at the worst stretch both for the Sixers as a team, as they obviously needed the scoring punch to kind of stay afloat, and for Tobias Harris individually. This man is a free agent at the end of this year. I have zero clue what his market value is going to be based on how he's currently playing. But what are your thoughts on Tobias's level of play, and what the hell is even happening here?
He's having the opposite of a contract year. Like, guys
Yeah.
like ball out, they play, and they're like, "Oh man, he's playing for the contract. He's playing for his next big money." Tobias is doing the opposite. I'll
Playing
take the
for a
less.
discount, man. Yeah.
He's just waiting for his dad to do the work for him. I don't mean to take swings at Tobias.
Assassin score.
Oh man, I don't I honestly I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say about him. It's like I think the most frustrating part of it is how little effort at times it seems. Like that it's disheartening to see because at least before it was like at least he's doing the little things, right? He's trying to, I don't even know. I don't even know like what it is about him. It's hard to
so
watch.
bad.
He doesn't go for loose balls, man. He doesn't hit the boards hard. He obviously, we now have the meme of like have never taken a charge in his career. Like that's embarrassing, dude. Like I took a charge in my rec league game on Sunday. Like this shit means something to me, man. I was in there taking a charge last minute of the
Love
game.
it.
This guy doesn't do it, and he's getting paid millions of dollars. He's on the line. He should be the number one guy right now. So I think that's where like a lot of us get frustrated with him is he should be at the minimum like giving effort and busting his ass and playing defense and going hard at the rim, and he just doesn't. He only wants the shots in his little area. He only wants to do what he wants to do. He's a ball stopper. The offense flows better when he's not there. And on top of it all, he's the highest paid player on the team. It's like it really is just a frustrating mix. I don't know what is next for Tobias. What I know is that he cannot be back here next year. And the only thing I can hope is that Nick Nurse sees the writing on the wall at this point. And if everyone is healthy with Oubre, Batum, and Robert Covington, and you can even mix Melton into there with these wings, like his minutes need to be short. Like he needs to be somewhere between 20 to 25, not between 30 and 35. And like I don't really think that's a discussion, even if he's playing well. And there were times this year when they were at full strength that they could go to him at times. I look back to that Nuggets game pretty specifically at the start of the fourth quarter. They went to him, early for scoring, and they can do that at times. But it's just when he's asked to do more than what he's used to doing, it's bad.
Yeah, no, it's been brutal. And the shot diet specifically has been something that frustrated me as I think he's regressed a ton as far as last year, I think was in a large part like the best version of Tobias as far as quick decisions, taking catch and shoot 3-pointers, being decisive in the way that he plays, having his mind made up before he gets the ball. And feels like we're getting none of that this year, that it's too much dribbling into tough fadeaway 2-pointers again and just poor basketball across the board. Defensively, I think he's been far worse this year. Gets lost off ball all the time. I feel like 3 or 4 times per game, it like jumps out to me of like a back cut that Tobias just doesn't notice. And a guy either beats him. He's gotten away with a ton of them, of a guy being open for a split second and he has his like a little, oh, there he is, and kind of run to him. But it happens it happens a lot and it's very frustrating. So I don't understand. I'm with you that like I don't even think it should be a discussion. It should, in my mind, be like a closed case of this guy has not earned the right to play 30 plus minutes a night with this team. And I get doing it right now, obviously, that they're shorthanded. They don't really have the alternatives that you essentially need it. And you're also doing that dance of you don't want to break this guy's confidence for when it's actually valuable minutes that you need him, the goal is still to get to the best version of Tobias Harris come playoff time. I'm not very optimistic that ends up being the case, but you got to try whatever it takes to get to that point. So I don't know. I have no clue. If I had to ask you right now, what kind of contracts are you looking at this offseason?
Dude, I don't know. I like honestly, God, I don't know. I don't know what team is looking at this and being like, yeah, we could use him. The only thing I can think is like
Detroit, Toby.
Seriously, maybe it's like maybe it's like something like 3 years, 36 million. Like, what if it is like something like that? I don't know. I don't even want to.
I think he gets 3 for 60 in Detroit. It's my prediction.
Sure, that's great, and I would be happy for him. Honestly, I'd be happy for him. I just think like if you compare and contrast the situation between like him and Kelly Oubre, a guy who came in here on a $2 million minimum, has a lot to prove, and on a nightly basis, dude, he busts his ass. He tries so hard, and on every play that he can, he's skying up for one-handed rebounds. He's blocking shots, chasing down,
celebrating,
pointing stuff, yelling, trying to dunk on people when they're shorthanded. He takes the ball and is like, I'll go get a bucket or at least try, which I love about him. But it's like they're so polar opposite in that way where it's like Tobias just looks like disengaged and adherent to the entire situation. And it's frustrating because it's like, dude, this should be your time. You've been here for 6 freaking years. Like, this is his 6th season with the Sixers. You should be able to be like, hey, this is my team right now. When these guys are out, this is my squad. I need to go in there and take over and be the guy. He doesn't have that in him. Doesn't have that dog in him. So I don't know. I don't want to like keep piling on the guy. We will need him at times, when the playoffs come around. But I think that he has to just be another guy. Like, I don't think that Tobias deserves to have like what he's been granted up to this point. He just needs to be another guy that can play on this team, and his skill set can be optimized in that situation.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there, and I did want to jump on the Kelly Oubre discussion here. Is I did not expect to be at this point in my brain. I'm officially all in as a Kelly Oubre guy, and I'm to the point where I want this guy back in a Sixers uniform next year, and I'm willing to pay him. That not even on like a team-friendly deal. That give this guy a legitimate contract. Give him not a Tobias Harris contract, as Toby's currently a top 30 paid player in the NBA still with what he's doing. But Kelly Oubre, somewhere in the ballpark of like 12 to 20 mil a year, I think is fair for him. And I think he can deliver on that. And I even think right now is a situation where he's playing with a little bit more on his plate than is the best version of him. But I think they're like, to me, something clicked with Kelly Oubre a couple weeks ago where it was just like, wait a minute, I'm the most athletic guy on the floor. Like, I'm just going to take it at people, try and dunk on everybody, attack the rim every single chance that I get. And he's doing that. And it's been so effective. And defensively, he's been so much better than I ever expected. The hands are super active. He competes on that side of the floor. He'll contest weak side blocks. There's just like the little things that he does are stuff that I did not expect. And I think it translates to winning that I really do want to see.
Yeah.
And like the best version of him still sticks in my head of early this season, that specifically those baseline cuts that he's so good at. And that's very important skill set next to Joel that the Sixers really haven't had. I'm all in on Kelly Oubre, and I want him around for the long haul.
I fully agree. I wish he was a little bit of a better shooter, like just a little bit more consistent. You take that with what he does bring to the table, and he can handle the rock. He can run pick and rolls. He gets downhill really, really well. He attacks mismatches a lot. The defensive side of the ball is where I've been really surprised. And I was even talking to one of my friends today, talking about like a matchup with the Bucks, and it's like Tyrese Maxey has taken steps defensively and really
he's a good defender at this point.
He's a good defender. The only thing that holds him back is his height, but aside from that, he's really decided he has all the other traits, right? He's an athlete, he's strong, he's smart, tries hard. He like, not really the point, but in these matchups, you look down against who the Sixers will be matching up against, and you have a lot of versatility there. Like, there's been a lot of times in the games against the Bucks where Oubre was picking up Lillard and guarding him far from the basket. You see him guarding Paul George at different times, guarding Kawhi Leonard, even guarding LeBron the other night. It's like he can kind of go up and down, and he might not be the best fit in that sense. Like, oh, he should probably not be guarding LeBron or a larger guy like that. Maybe he shouldn't be chasing Damian Lillard off of screens, but he's willing to do it. He's athletic enough to hang. He's aggressive enough to get steals and blocks and rebounds. So I love that about him. I love that he brings athletic, dynamic play to the team. It's something that the Sixers have really missed over the last couple of years. So, he just brings a side of basketball that the Sixers haven't had. It's been really refreshing and nice to see. And I would love to see him back because I think he fills a lot of the gaps that they've had over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And defensively, another area that's really stood out to me with Kelly is he seems really comfortable guarding like little guards. And sometimes like that's kind of rare in wings, that like you want a guy that you can like, typically when you're a big guy, you don't want to run with the quick little guys. But I think Kelly likes being able to be bigger, be able to swallow them up. Yeah. Guys like Jalen Brunson, I thought he did an excellent job of in that matchup. And that's an area that's valuable when we talk about playoff stats. Like if we're talking about go chase Dame Lillard around, that takes a lot off Tyrese Maxey's plate or D'Anthony Melton's plate or whoever wants to do it. And you're not going to go 48 minutes with that tactic, but to have that as an option is very valuable to this team. So I'm all in. I'm loving that. But I do want to shift to another negative conversation here. And Buddy Hield, man, I'm a Buddy guy. I'm still a Buddy guy. I'm not getting off the wagon because I think it's going to swing back. I'm still confident in that. But it's been way rougher than I expected. And he did leave last night's game against the Kings with a foot injury. He said after the game that he's been bothered by that foot injury for a period of time now. This is something that he's been battling with. Hopefully nothing serious there, and I doubt that it is. It seems more like one of those things that maybe miss a game or two and be back. But what are your thoughts on Buddy's level of play, and where are things going wrong, do you think?
Yeah, it's tough. He's not getting the amount of shots up that I think all of us assumed that he would and expected him to and kind of want him to. It's his attempts per game, especially from three, are much lower.
Yeah.
They don't have any gravity interior. Like there's nobody really helping him right now. And I don't know if like, I don't want to say they're not using him the right way, but it seems like they only have the one thing where he just ghosts the screen and just runs kind of a horizontally across the court from wing to wing. And that works sometimes, but they don't have a lot of other plays like in their toolbox that they've been using him in. I think that they could do a better job of that. On his end, I don't think he gets shots up quick enough.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
He's a lot slower to the trigger than I thought he would be. Like I kind of want him to just chuck. You know what I mean? I kind of want him to catch and just anytime he has a window, just toss one. I feel like
especially right now. Especially right now.
Yeah. What I will say is, and I'm sure you're kind of feeling the same way a lot of us, is when Embiid comes back, dude, he's going to be exponentially more valuable. He's going to be a resource of, an outlet, a valve on offense that allows them to space the floor, unlike they have in a lot of years. He's still big enough to compete. He's definitely more of like a complete player than like Seth Curry was in that time frame, and maybe a little bit like Curry was like quicker, I guess, like around Embiid and kind of getting around and just moving off of screens. I feel like Hield doesn't move as much as I want him to off the ball, but
he runs hard. I'll give him credit there. He tries.
He does. And I still like Buddy. Like I think the same. He doesn't get to the rim very well, which I think we kind of knew at this point. But all in all, I think it's still been a fantastic addition, especially for the cost. And I think once Embiid is back, we're gonna all kind of be like, yeah, this is why we traded for him.
Yeah, and that's the most important note there is it's all going to make more sense with Joel with a lot of these guys. I do think that 4-game honeymoon period was a bit of a tease with Buddy. That the finishes around the rim off the left hand and all those wild things that he was busting out, the 10 assists, like that stuff I don't think is ever going to be norm. That I think maybe we get a handful of those ever again in his basketball career, but I don't think that's him. My concern is it is the quick trigger, the lack of that. It feels a lot more Seth Curry like in that situation. That was always one of my biggest critiques with Seth, aside from the defensive side of the ball, is like when you're that good of shooter, dude, let it fly. Like I don't need you to have a perfect look every time. That you're good enough to hit tough shots. And I think Buddy's that level of shooter. I really think he is. I know you can't. All these guys can shoot the lights out, but when you watch some of his by the way, he's always the first one on the floor and last one off it for practice games, shooting, getting up extra shots. He also does a cool thing. I'm forgetting the phrase. I saw an interview between Tyrese Halliburton and JJ Redick talking about Buddy Hield. And one of his things is he doesn't like rebounders for shooters, that he goes out and shoots alone. He just wants to go do it. I forget the phrase. It was like therapeutic shooting or something along those lines. Drop a comment if you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm going to have to look it up after this. But it was something like that's like his mental state. That's how he gets himself right. It's just go out just himself in the basketball court. And like that's a shooter, man. Like that is what it is. But like he's just got to find ways to let it fly more. And I've seen a lot of they're not using him right takes, and like it hasn't been perfect by any means. So I'm not saying like that they are, but to some extent it's like this has been the Buddy Hield story. Like that little flare screen that's what he does every possession ever. That's what he's always done. And I think like he benefited from the up-tempo pace of play, specifically in Indiana. I think that was, and they're missing him for that outlet right now too, by the way. When you watch them play, they're struggling quite a bit. Halliburton's definitely missing playing next to Buddy Hield. But I don't know. I'm concerned that like this is going to be a continued thing, that we're complaining about him not getting enough shots off, and he just has to. Like if he's not getting up shots, Buddy Hield, then what are we doing with you on the floor? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think once Embiid comes around, and again, that's the whole point of all of this, is like to optimize the team when Embiid is on the court. To have a backcourt of Maxey and Buddy Hield, pretty lethal from beyond the arc. And I saw also, I was chuckling at this. There was a stat that came out the other day. NBA University posted it, of like the average distance on threes, like, and Embiid was up there as well, which was funny to me.
Above Maxey
by a couple of spots. And was shooting almost like 37% on those deep threes. But Maxey was up there at, almost 38% on threes, very deep threes. So he's extending the line very deep, and he's doing it off the bounce and on his own creation right now. It's, he proved last year that he's an elite catch and shoot guy as well. I hope he can kind of get back to that. But we also know Buddy Hield is obviously an elite catch and shoot guy. And, when Embiid comes back and they have to double him, or they have to not double him and stay out on the shooters, and he gets one-on-one matchups, you're going to be a lot happier that you have him. So I think it honestly is more of like a wait and see how this looks with Joel. If he keeps kind of being hesitant or not doing what we think he should be doing, then maybe you start to have, form a stronger opinion one way or another. But I honestly think once Embiid gets back, he's going to come, be very important for them.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to talk about the center position a little bit now. That Mo Bamba has started a lot of basketball games for the Sixers team now, and Paul Reed has been excellent lately. I think he's been far better than playing some of his best stretch of basketball all year. There's no way Nick Nurse is debating who's the backup center, right? Like, this is more about keeping Paul in his role. Or I guess what I'm saying is, it was creeping into my mind is there's a fear where Nick Nurse is still up in the air and thinks Mo Bamba has a chance at the backup center role.
I don't think so. I mean, it's proven by the first part of the year, right? Like, Bamba wasn't really getting a lot of minutes at times, and I think it really probably is like Paul Reed when he was starting, he was like that right when Embiid came out and was had the surgery and everything, was missing the time, and Reed came into the starting lineup. Paul Reed started kind of looking terrible. Like, he was trying to do too much. They gave maybe a little bit too much liberty and allowing him to just get out of himself. And I think what this is kind of brought, I guess like the compromise to me would be like Bamba can start and that's fine. But when Reed is playing, like, he should be playing more minutes than Mo Bamba. Like,
Agreed.
Bamba shouldn't be getting 30 and Paul Reed only get, 15, 18, whatever it is. It should be Bamba gets 18 to 20 and Reed is getting the majority of those minutes. And I haven't even thought about Mo Bamba playing in the playoffs. I pray to God that he doesn't,
I think he might. I really think he might.
I hope not, dude. I really hope not. That would be devastating to me, to be honest.
Yeah, and to Mo's credit, I think he's been better lately. I'm still not remotely even really considering him as an option. There's still so much frustrating about his play. It's either like a mental like locked inness or just a coordination thing in him that like it's just not quite all there. And I do want to say, like, by all accounts, Mo Bamba seems like a terrific teammate and an awesome dude. Like, on a human being level, seems like the absolute man. But from a basketball perspective, it just leaves me wanting more. And that thought has very much crossed my mind. That I think think it's fair to say that Nick Nurse is not a Paul Reed guy. Would you say that?
I don't know. I'm surprised that he's not. You know what I mean? Like, I'm surprised that I thought that he would eat that up. Like, I thought that Paul Reed would be like the number one guy that Nick Nurse came in and would love to have and play all the time.
But think about, we've even had opportunities and situations where Nick Nurse has gone with KJ Martin as the small ball 5 and Nico Batum is the small ball 5 and Ricky Council is the small ball 5 rather than roll with Paul Reed in opportunities.
Yeah, no, that is telling.
Yeah. Yeah, it's concerning to me. So, I mean, obviously, like, my game plan and my hope for this team is Paul Reed in a minimized role is excellent. That's the best version of him. And I do think there's weight to like keeping him in that role, which there's credence to starting Mo Bamba and allowing him to stick in that. I just really pray that that is the game plan and that this isn't still a debate and a conversation. Because with Mo, I feel like it's kind of one of those situations where when he's knocking down threes, he's valuable to your team. And when he's not, he's pretty rough out there. That he's a tough watch compared to a lot of these guys. So I did want to just touch on one more thing with kind of the roster before we get ready to wrap up here. So Sixers still at 13 official active roster guys. That DJ Wilson did make his debut with the Sixers last night. Looked very good. Ricky Council still has not been upgraded to a traditional NBA deal, which, by the way, would make him ineligible for the NBA playoffs if they do not change that. What do you think they do from here? Are they just going to hold on to those roster spots, throw Danny Green a quick victory lap for the final playoffs? Or like, what is the game plan with these spots? Because they've really done not a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. We haven't seen much out of like Kai Jones either. I know we talked about that a little bit.
He's no longer with the Sixers. That his 10-day expired. I will note, sorry to interrupt here, but to jump. So he made his debut with the Blue Coats, picked up a hamstring injury. He actually looked really good in that Blue Coats game that I was able to check that one out. Thought he looked sharp, but his athleticism and activity were off the charts, which is pretty much the book on Kai Jones, but then had a hamstring injury and was unable to play the rest of that 10-day contract, which is now expired. So kind of a misswing there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I didn't mind that they kept their options open, really. I do know with Ricky Council, I think I read something somewhere that depending on, if they converted him now, it affects their cap and everything. I think they kind of want to go into this and I'm assuming they probably want to bring him back. All accounts point that way, but they're waiting to make sure that they can maneuver it in the right way, which frustrating nonetheless. But regardless, I mean, I guess that they're gonna just try out these bigs or try out these additional guys to see, like, will this guy stick? Can this guy provide us with some value over the next couple of days? Realistically, the guys that they have are the guys that are going to play. Like, you're not going to be picking up anybody off the street right now that's going to be making or breaking a playoff series. So I don't think it's all that important, but I would like to see them have a little bit more consistency with that. All that being said, is I don't know what they'll do. Like, maybe Wilson will play well enough over this, this course of time to earn himself a spot. Maybe they'll convert Council just in case they need him in the playoffs, or they might just roll with 13. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the benefit to that is, though.
Yeah, it would feel like a huge waste if that is the
why
case.
Not?
Give Kai Jones another run, man. I like Kai Jones, and like he's obviously has not handled his professional career quite up to the standard to this point. That he's got some issues or things that he dealt with, but I still think that there's a real chance that, like, guys mess up, man. Like, think about, like, the pathway that this dude's still 22 years old, just figuring things out. And I think there's a real chance where he took his wake-up call and is ready to respond to that. And I am a believer in Kai Jones as a talent. I have been since Texas and stand by that. And frankly, he looked very good in the Blue Coats game. Again, we saw like 30 minutes of basketball from him, so I'm not hanging my hat on that. But I think that's a guy worth taking a chance on. And I definitely want them to upgrade Ricky, man. Like, that to me is good roster construction, is we can find young talents, give him a multi-year deal, which ages quite well, pull the Shake Milton card, the 3-year, $6 million deal, give him some guaranteed money that's appealing to him, and make it work, because I want Ricky around this team, and they got to keep generating talent. So I'd be very frustrating if they do nothing about that, but it's been weird, the lack of traction with really anything regarding that.
Yeah, it is. I feel like they have a plan to some degree. I'm sure they'll have something finalized, in the next couple of weeks, but I don't know. They're confusing like this sometimes. Like, it feels like sometimes Morey is playing like invisible chess, and he thinks everyone else is playing checkers, but like there's no one else on the other side of the board. He's kind of just doing it against himself. So maybe he's just playing this game for fun. I don't really know what the outcome is, but at this point, to me, it kind of just like is what it is.
Yeah, we will see from here. Final 2 questions before we wrap up. So 10 games remaining. What's the Sixers record during this period? And then I need a NCAA championship prediction.
Yeah. All right. The last 10 games. It's tough because you don't know when Joel is going to come back. I think
it's a big X factor.
I'm always gonna just stick positively. I think that they're gonna go 6-4.
Okay, I like that.
And then for my NCAA prediction, I'm just gonna keep I know people say not to put all of your eggs in one basket. I actually did the opposite this year. I put all of my eggs in one basket, so I'm gonna continue doing that. Just add another egg in here. I'm going Arizona over Duke in the final.
Wow.
I've been with Arizona the entire time. I don't know why, but it just spoke to me before I did my bracket, and then I just decided Arizona was going to win. So that's where I'm at. What about you?
All right, I like that. As far as the score prediction, I'm going to go, the record prediction, I'll go 5-5. That I think it's still going to be a tough stretch. I think they end it strong in those final couple games, so that's kind of my level of optimism there. I like the Arizona pick, by the way, for the NCAA tournament. Caleb Love's the man. I'd be pretty happy if that happened. But I think they ultimately get upseeded in the matchup that I cannot wait to watch, which is UNC and Arizona. The Caleb Love and RJ Davis revenge game. For the quick backstory there, that Caleb Love essentially transferring to Arizona because RJ Davis stole his girl. So that one's going to be electric television to watch that. I think UNC cuts down the nets this year, and I think they do it. The other side of the bracket I'm having a little tougher time with. I think I'm going with Gonzaga. I'm going UNC over Gonzaga as my pick at this point. I've been really impressed with the way Gonzaga's playing. I've watched a ridiculous amount of basketball during this stretch from start to finish both days. So all about it, best time of year. But yeah, I'll lock that in. So UNC and Arizona are the picks right here on the Pick Swap podcast.
Love it.
Any final words before we sign off here?
Dude, when Joel is back, it's go time, baby. I'm ready. Don't be late is all I'll say, because I'm early.
Love that. And we'll sign off on that note. So I appreciate all you guys for tuning into this. Make sure you're dropping a like on this video, subscribing to the channel, and dropping any thoughts in the comments. We will be here every step of the way, when and if Joel Embiid returns back to this team. So appreciate all you guys, and talk next time. Peace.